Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Thursday afternoon. Happy game day. I hope everyone's all right and everyone is okay and looking after himself. Spurs tonight playing 8 p.m. at home to Bodo Glimt. So we're talking about that game. Obviously, some really good stuff coming out. The press conference from Ange and James Maddison. So we'll be talking about that as well. We're also going to be talking about some Eberechi Eze flavoured news. Again, like we talk about on this channel, when it comes to transfer dealings, it really is irrelevant until you know who's going to be here next season in charge. But we'll talk about it regardless. Hope that you are having a good day. It's lovely weather outside today, so make sure you stay nice and hydrated. So Spurs tonight, obviously 8 p.m. kickoff. What are we? We're about 7.5 hours away till kickoff tonight against Bodo Glimt. And look, I think too many people are thinking too much about the second leg. That's the gist of what I've seen online and in chats and things like that. I think some people are thinking too much about the second leg. Just worry about the first leg. Just worry about the first leg. That's all I'm thinking about right now. I'm not thinking about, like I said, I'm not thinking about West Ham at Sunday. I'm not thinking about Bodo Glimt next Thursday. I'm thinking about tonight against Bodo Glimt. And, you know, it's an opportunity to... it's an opportunity tonight to allow us breathing room going into the second leg. Okay, that's fair enough to say. It's an opportunity tonight to make more memories as well. That, you know, for this club and European football, for the size that we are, we haven't had enough big European nights in terms of, you know, making semi-finals and things like that. We've had it a little bit here and there, but we haven't had it enough. And this is an opportunity to add another chapter to that book. And it's obviously an opportunity to win it and get Champions League football. I know that, but, you know, I enjoy when things are good seeing Lucas Moura's hat-trick against Ajax. I do not enjoy having to see it every month because they're trying to bring up the fan base's morale. This is an opportunity to maybe not replace it, but maybe just go, maybe we don't need to see Lucas Moura's hat-trick every other day. Maybe we see it once a week because, you know, Spurs had a good result tonight. But no, all jokes aside, tonight's massive. It's massive for Bodo Glimt. Obviously, you know, look, Bodo Glimt were to get a victory tonight. That's massive for them. Absolutely massive. You know, if they were to get a draw, that's massive for them. If they were to keep the score line down in the defeat, they'd feel pretty decent. If we go out there and blow them out of the water 4-0, they won't be feeling very good going into the second leg. So could you kill this team off potentially? Maybe so. Maybe so. What I would say is, looking at the last two nights of Champions League football, which, by the way, yesterday's game was magnificent. I can't stress enough how good that football was yesterday. And it showed that, you know, even Inter Milan, who scored after 50 seconds to go 1-0 up away at Barcelona, it didn't faze Barca. They didn't think, oh, God, or, you know, ooh. Even then, they look, Barca were fantastic. Then Inter get another one and Barca score straight after. So going 1-0 down tonight shouldn't change our game plan. Now, I don't think we will go 1-0 down. I'm just saying, you know, as a hypothetical. Tonight's game, I think, is going to be magnificent. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the stadium, which should build a lovely atmosphere. I think the atmosphere tonight will be fantastic. And look, if you're a fan of any team and you can't get up for a cup semi-final, then I think there's something wrong about you as a person. I as soon as the game finished last night, I just couldn't stop thinking about today's game. And, you know, it's 7.5 hours away, and it's 7.5 hours of, you know, all it is thinking about tonight's game. So it's going to be fascinating. You know, it seems like the camp and, you know, the manager, they seem to be very up for it. They seem to be very aware of the spot they're in, the ability to create something magical. And it was a good press conference. You know, I think for too long, you know, even managers who have been here haven't defended the club the way Ange has defended the club. And I know there's some people that don't like Ange. And again, this isn't a pro-Ange or anti-Ange argument. But, you know, he went on the defense for Spurs and attacked media outlets and journalists who are just spouting nonsense and rubbish about Spurs. He defended us. You know, Maddison yesterday I could see it's so brilliant. This is the issue with some of the biggest Spurs pages, by the way. They only clip and put out stuff that they know is negative because it's going to garner a much bigger reaction. They get a bit more money because they've got a blue tick on on Twitter. But actually watching some of the questions being put towards Maddison and Maddison responding, if you watch it the whole way through and you have an issue with what Maddison says, that's more about you than it is him. I loved what he said. I loved what Ange said. I'll read you. This was the big one. Maddison was asked about the first question was, the supporters are embarrassed, hurt, and angry. Do you owe them one in this competition, given what they've been going through? And he said, they or we? We've been going through it. Then the journalist kind of was a bit like, how do I get an answer to antagonize him to get some stuff out of it? Yeah, but you've been putting them through it with the results in the league. And he said, on purpose? And he says, no, but don't you feel you owe them one? And actually, this was a fantastic answer. This was a very mature answer. It's a very well thought out answer. He says, we definitely want to reward them for their support they give us by creating something special because the league hasn't been good enough, definitely. But it hurts us as well. Let's not create the narrative that, yes, it's us players out there and we take responsibility for that. But it hurts me a lot that we're having a poor season. But this is why we're so motivated for this competition, because the season can still be so special. People talk all the time about Tottenham being without silverware for however many years. But we're in the last four and have a great opportunity in a competition we've been pretty solid in this year. He said, maybe I worded it a bit wrong, but we want to reward them because we feel the support. At the end of games and you've lost again, you go over and you want to thank them for their support. And I know they don't want to hear it from us. Even this press conference and the interview on Sunday, they're really not bothered because words are just words. But it hurts and we're trying to put it right. That's the main thing, that hunger is there. It doesn't always work how you want it to, but this is a unique situation that we're in the last four in Europe where we can go and reward them for their sport because they do travel everywhere. We're very grateful for that. Even in the league position we're in, we've got nothing to play for. They're still selling out Liverpool away, and we do appreciate that. They are supporting us. It hurts us as well. We're not satisfied. We're in this together. That is a great, great answer. That is a phenomenal answer. That's one of the better answers that you'll hear in a press conference, to say, we feel the pain. We understand their pain. I don't think being told that you're owed something. I have an issue with how that question was worded. That was a question to try and antagonize and to get an answer where he's going to bite. Whereas Maddison changed the wording around. I mean, this is a footballer telling a journalist. He's changing the wording of your question to make it a legit question. I don't know who asked that question, but that question was crap. We want to reward them. That's better. That is a much better use of English language there. So, look, brilliant on that answer. Ange coming out here and calling out not calling out by name, but calling out basically, who, about how, well, if Spurs were to win this, it's not a big deal. And he goes, no, it is a big deal. This isn't Man United in the FA Cup last year. This is a massive deal for Spurs to win this. And it's great that he's understood. He understands, the amount of people go, he doesn't understand Tottenham. He's not an idiot. If you're a manager, you do understand it. Now, I think how you phrase things can be obviously misconstrued. I even think if you think about Conte and the amount of times that he was, twerking for himself and saying, how Tottenham are lucky to have him, I think he probably didn't answer it the way he would have thought. Obviously, I know there's a language barrier in that. He understood Tottenham. Jose understood Tottenham. Poch understood. They all understand Tottenham. They all understand the situation. They understand that, you got a rivalry against Chelsea and Arsenal, and you don't like West Ham, and and all those things. They understand it. They're not idiots. That you're a Premier League manager. If you're a Premier League manager, it's not that you're an idiot. You're very talented, and that's the thing that people seem to think. Oh, a Premier League manager, he must be. Yeah, he's crap. Sack him. He's a Premier League manager. You're never going to be that, and I'm never going to be that. So it's impressive that he's there. But he, actually defended Spurs, and I loved it. Actually, it felt a bit more what other teams do in regards to other teams twerk for the media because they want sympathy. Oh, look at us. We've got one injury in the squad. Oh, please feel sympathy for us. Spurs had 12, and Ange said, we just got to get on with it. Hence why people don't ever talk about that injury period. They just talk about the losses. Yeah, they forget that Ben Davies and Archie Gray was our centre back pairing for about 3 months. So I love it. I love it. He's actually gone out there and said, "No, we understand the situation. All right, we will deserve to be in the Champions League if we win this trophy because that's the way it is. If you win a European trophy, that is special. Doesn't matter who you are. Even if it's Real Madrid, who have won however many Champions Leagues, them winning a Champions League is still special. Look at Manchester City. They won the Champions League, obviously, a few years ago, wherever it was. How special that was for them. So they is special. Tonight is as an opportunity to create some absolutely long-lasting memories. And he said, like, we want to give this fan base memories that they can share with their friend, their loved ones, their friends and family. They can share it through generations and things like that. I love that answer. I absolutely love it. He gets it as a fan as well as a professional. And yes, the Europa League this season has been a bit of a weird one. The Premier League, obviously, Spurs have suffered obviously immensely through injuries this season. Obviously, the most losses by 1 goal in the league as well. That's obviously not going to help. We've not been good enough in the league though. When we have been, healthy. People seem to think we were healthy in March, and that's not true. We weren't healthy in March. Players were back. They weren't near 100% though. That's a fact. Argue with the wall behind me. I'm not interested in it. But we're starting to get there now. We're starting to get 100% across the board. I'm not saying, oh, we're 100%. I don't think we are truly there yet, but we're pretty close. Obviously, I know we're missing Radu, and I get that. And maybe there's the odd player or two that maybe aren't 100%. Sonny, obviously, we're missing Sonny tonight. That's a big loss. As much as you may rate Sonny or hate Sonny, Heung-Min Son fit will be the best player on this pitch by a country mile. He hasn't been fit enough this season. He's been playing through injuries because when you have 12 players out, Son's been trying his best to keep us together at times, So that is that. Now, Bodo Glimt are obviously missing a few players tonight. We obviously know they're missing their main guy in the midfield, Berg, the number 6. So you're going to be playing a rotational option in there. Again, I sort of explained this to some Bodo Glimt fans. I said, I feel sympathy in regards to you having injuries because, I would hope people have sympathy for Spurs when we had all of our injuries. But let's be honest, they didn't. So it's hard for me to give you too much sympathy. I understand that it's not great and I understand maybe you're missing a few players, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. We were told to get on with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter the size of the club. It's now the same thing. You're in a European semi-final. And the amount of people that, like in world football that seem to knock this club, our manager and our players don't knock this club. They understand, hey, if you're in a European semi-final, at least of the Champions League or Europa League variety, you've got to be half decent. I mean, in the Conference League, Chelsea are playing it's Bergvall's old team, isn't it, in Sweden? But the other tie is Fiorentina versus Betis. That's a pretty good tie. You wouldn't be surprised if that was a tie in the Europa League. So Bodo Glimt being there, they're on there on merit. They're not there because of luck. They're on there on merit. You beat Porto this season. You beat Besiktas. You beat Braga away. You beat FC20 in the playoff rounds. You beat Olympiacos, Greek champions. You knock out Lazio, who are a top 6 club in Italy, something like top 6, top 7, something like that. You're here on merit. You're not here because you've got lucky or, every team has a million injuries. They're there because they've earned to be here. So I know that this club will take them seriously. You would hope that Spurs are going to try and overwhelm them. Spurs, I mean, both teams playing 10 out of 10. Spurs win this tie and they win it well. Okay. I know there's some, Bodo Glimt fans that seem to think, we're incredible, Bodo Glimt. We can beat everyone 7-0. I get that. But this team, when 100%, is still a dangerous team in world football, in my opinion. So I'm not writing off Bodo Glimt. I'm not an idiot. They're in a European semi-final because they're on here on merit. We're also here on merit as well. And okay, yes, we're missing Heung-Min Son, our best attacker. I get that. But there is some absolute quality in this squad. There is quality in this squad. They need to they need to act like it. They need to play up to what we know they can do. What we know they can do is they can go to Man City and win 4-0 with a keeper with a broken ankle. They go to Man United and just destroy them 3-0. They beat Liverpool this season at home with an injured squad. You're playing a centre back. You're playing a centre mid at centre back. You still beat them 1-0 with a keeper who's 21 on his debut. Forget not even talking about last season when we were beating teams fairly frequently compared to this season at least. This team, when they play up to the level that they know they can play at, they are a very good side. We just have not seen it enough this season. So, like I said, if they go out there and they play to the level that we know they can play at, Spurs will win this game by at least a couple. Now, do they do that is the problem. Now, I say that, by the way, but not to knock Bodo Glimt. They are missing some players, hence why I'm saying that. If they weren't missing those players, maybe I wouldn't be saying it as sort of assertively as maybe as I am. But they are missing a few players. You have to be on board with that. When we were missing players, I wasn't sitting here going, we're going to win games 5-0 like Steve would tell you. I think he said we're going to win 6-0 tonight. I think Steve did. Steve will tell me if I'm wrong there. He said we're going to win 12-0 in the final against Man United. So there you go. Steve is telling you there. So playing up to our level, it's interesting to know this team selection tonight because we have options. What he's going to go with tonight. I'm fascinated with the decision tonight. Cozy, how are you, my friend? The day is here. Let's make it as hot as atmosphere as we possibly can do. Absolutely. Every single club in the final four have earned the right to be there. Absolutely. I see a lot of people saying that it's going to be an easy match. I don't think it's going to be an easy match. Not at all. I think they're going to sit back a little bit, hit us on the counter. Like I said, I've done, the deep dive into who Bodo Glimt are as a team and their ability. But I also have been very on it with, where they're going to cause us hitting my mic, sorry. When they're going to cause us some issues is probably more so the two number 8s in terms of how they make it into the pocket between the midfield and defence. That's where I think they might cause us a few issues. Hence why I said Bentancur needs to have a Bentancur-like performance. Bergvall needs to be a bit more switched on when it comes to tracking the runner on the underlap of the winger or fullback. They need to be on there. So we'll see on that one. We'll see until it comes. I'm anxious for Ange and the team to claim a trophy, but one step at a time. Spurs, take care of business and prove yourselves all to the haters. Do you know what? Let's know, mate. How are you, by the way? Do you know what? Go out there and when it comes to this one game, don't think about the second leg. Don't think about West Ham at the weekend. I'm not. Those two games are really irrelevant to me. Got 90 minutes tonight. Hell, treat it like a cup final. Now, obviously, after the game, it's not a cup final, but you treat the 90 minutes as everything. Because I tell you what, you go to, let's say you go to Bodo Glimt drawing on the tie. That's not easy. You go there with a 1-goal advantage. Okay, you're going with a buffer, but you really wanted a bigger buffer. You go there with 2 or more, you start to get that buffer in there. You start to go, you just get 1 at Bodo Glimt. You're going to have to make them really work for it. So we'll sort of see. Bodo might find themselves a bit out of their depth, but I always enjoy watching Bodo play. Solid side. Okay, the big thing about Bodo that I've been really on it with is, okay, maybe they don't have superstars. I get that. Maybe they're not full of Lamine Yamal. Watching Lamine Yamal yesterday, by the way, it was incredible. Whoa. Wow, breathtaking. But it's also thinking on, but they have had a manager there for over half a decade. They know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and when they're doing it. They are so well drilled. That is as scary as having, world beaters in your teams at times, Right now, we could struggle against any team. Well, I think that's football as a whole. A lot of teams struggle against most teams, to be honest, mate. Hope the team is laser focused tonight. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with positive thinking. And one day I'll be right, and that'll be a day. I'll have a few beers. The play most teams do is long cross ball. So opposite winger, then run in. We must eliminate this A. Start and have a first half like I played against Southampton first. Hell, mate, even the half that we had against the second game, We go out there and do that, we can blow a team away. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Managed stability is so important. I wish we had it. How dead is the Europa League when you got teams in 14th, 16th in the Premier League on the verge of reaching a final? It's not dead, mate. Anyway, moving on. That's going to be fascinating. But yeah, I still think Spurs will win 3-1 tonight. I sort of said, I think I said my team would be Vic, Destiny, Mickey Kuti, Porro, Bentancur, Bergvall, Maddison, Tell, Solanke. The right wing is a question for me because you've got a few options for right wing. Because I wouldn't muck around with the midfield. I think we've started to find a midfield three right now that kind of knows each other's games. Let's not start chopping and mucking around. I know Kulu might be better centrally. Let's not muck around for this one game, all right? Are you going to go Jono right wing? Are you going Odebear right wing? Are you going Kulu right wing? Like, you know what I mean? There are some options for that right wing position. Kulu, I think, could make a bit more sense because I think they may sit back a little bit. I think his chemistry with Porro is underrated. And I still think, by the way, I said this in at least one other video, maybe two. I think Pedro Porro is on for a big game tonight. I really, really have a vibe that Pedro's on for a big game. And in a good way. I don't mean like he's going to give away 4 penalties and get a red card. Famous last words. I think he's on for a good game because he's had that rest at the weekends. And the one thing I have noticed is when Porro has had a few days of rest where he's not played every 3 days, I think he's on for an absolute belter. He's always had a belter after that. So I think he's going to be on for a belter tonight. I think he gets on a goal contribution, be it an assist or a goal. Little cheeky 25-yard screamer. Yeah, no, I'll take that, Pedro. You know, you get to slap one in from top. Oh, yeah, I'll take that as well, Pedro. I mean, look, he scored in the last round as well. So more of that, please, Pedro. Obviously, he was solid, really solid in that second leg. Really, really solid. I know people don't like to give Pedro credit, but he deserves credit for that second leg performance because he was fantastic. And I think because he's had that rest against Liverpool, he wouldn't have played for 10 days. I think we're in for a really solid Pedro Porro performance. I think we're really in for a solid Pedro Porro performance. He's been, I would say, since the international break, one of the better players as well. I think people look at that Ekitike goal. It's an outrageous finish, by the way, you know, going through players' legs and what have you. He was still fantastic in that first leg. He scored as well, don't forget, but also his performance actually, barring that one attack they had, he was brilliant. He actually has been solid recently. I know people, like I said, I know people don't like to give him credit because they want to see Jed Spence play, but Pedro has been very, very good recently. And I think he's on for a big game tonight. Destiny over those 2 legs might have been our best player. He will be back, you would assume, tonight. I think he will be having another good, solid game. Good to see the magical duo centre back again. Destiny always is miles better when Mickey van der Ven's playing with him, you know. So it'd be good to see old Mick back. Bentancur, he's probably since the international break probably been our best player. You know, potentially he might be rivaled by the odd 1 or 2 players, but I think he's been our best player. He has sort of returned back to the levels of what we know Bentancur's about. You know, starting from international break with Uruguay, but not only that, it's, you know, it's the Chelsea away, it's the Southampton game. I mean, the 2 legs against Frankfurt, he was really, really good in. So there's that. I think, you know, Bergvall, obviously, new contract bounce for old Lucas Bergvall tonight could be brilliant. He has obviously been very, very solid. Maddison, look, I hope Maddison has a big game tonight. I really, really do. It'd be fantastic if he does. You know, we are a much better when Madders is on it and up for it, we are on it and up for it. And no Son tonight. I think he needs to step up as one of those leaders in the attack. You know, Sonny being out, you've lost one of those leaders in the attack. Next man up, Madders is there. You've still got obviously Kuti and Vic in there still for the defensive side of things. Vic struggled in the league, been good in the Europa. Kind of thing that we've had the issues with this season. So there's that. But I think, you know, one opportunity for Matisse Tell. You know, this is a guy who I think people, you know, I think football fans sometimes are too reactionary. Someone has a bad game, hook them. I don't ever see him play a game of football again. I hate that person. 19-year-old kid, French guy from Germany, coming over, haven't had played much football before joining us, played as a number 9 through the time we had 12 injuries. Things have settled down post the international break. He's had a good run of football out that left wing, and we're starting to see a player there again. I know the Wolves goal was a freak goal. He scores the penalty against Southampton. He looked so dangerous in those 2 games against Frankfurt. More of the same. And Maddison's been talking him up and hyping him up, and which is great. Right wing is interesting. Are we going to see a Dejan Kulusevski masterclass tonight? Are we going to see that tonight? Because I would love that. Big D sent a membership gift. Who's you giving it to? Who's it giving it to? Less Known's got it. Oh, well, I don't have a summer fruit squash on me, but Big D, mate, absolute bloody legend. Absolute legend in the chat. Less Known, welcome to the membership club, my friend. Some videos, there's some stickers, there's some all sorts. Enjoy it. You deserve it. And he did thank him for it, which is good. And happy match day to you too, Big D, mate. Steve, your team. Let's go. He's gone Vic, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Doggy, Bentancur, Belval, Maddison, Kulu, Slanky, Odebear. He's dropping Tell. Interesting. I think I would disagree, and I would have Tell starting over Odebear personally, but the rest of the team, I think I'm on board with it. I think, look, Kulu, I'm hungry. Let's see. You know what I mean? A great opportunity to get to the final. We need a good win. Bodo Glimt are very good at home, so taking a 2-goal lead to their ground will be good. I agree, Daniel. How are you, my friend? I agree. There's no harm in taking a 2-goal buffer. I also think let's not have this idea that, I'm not saying you, Daniel, I'm just saying in general, let's not have this idea that, if we go to Bodo Glimt to a level on tie, that we can't win there. We went to Frankfurt, who are one of the best home teams in Europe, and we won 1-0. It's one of the first times they've not scored in however many months. You know what I mean? Tell scored a good goal in the cup against Villa too. He did, Graham. It's not a Von, it's Graham, don't worry. Who would you prefer in the final, United or Bilbao? To be honest, mate, I don't care as long as we get there. You know what I mean? If I had to pick, I'd probably say Manchester United. Purely, by the way, not because we beat them 3 times this season. And when we were fit and they were fit, we slapped the crap out of them. And not because when we were down 12 players, we still beat them and scored from a corner. It's more so the final was actually at Bilbao Stadium. I'd rather not have to play an away game in a cup final against a team who, by the way, this season's having a really solid La Liga campaign. I think they're still 4th. Defensively, a really solid side. So I don't need to be apologising. You're entitled to your opinion, as I always say. You're entitled to your opinion whether I agree with an opinion or not, as long as it's not rude. You know what I mean? As long as it's not rude or abusive, you're more than welcome to an opinion. Not a problem there. Question as always, who scores today? Will our forwards face? Yeah, right. Give me score result. Give me score lines. Give me your goal scorers. I want to see what you guys think. I've gone 3-1. I'm going to go Matisse Tell. Little back post tap in. Go Matisse Tell. I've gone Maddison. Give me Pedro Porro. Pedro's getting goal or an assist tonight. I really do think he is. I'll go 3-1. I'll go Porro, Maddison, Tell. That's what I'm going for. In no particular order. Just that's the 3 that I think. Surely Tell gets brace and we all enjoy Guinness. Ooh, Owen. Yeah. I'm trying to save myself for a bank holiday weekend, but I would slam a Guinness or two. 3-0, Slanky, Richie, Madders. Ooh, Gibbo reckons Richie's getting on the score sheet. I like that. So you reckon... Sorry, it's my MacBook charger. Don't worry. I'm fiddling. So you reckon Richie comes on when it's either 1-0 or 2-0 and then he scores. Interesting. Okay. So Limited reckons 2-1 Spurs, but I have Bodo going through over 2 legs. Fair enough. Wopal reckons 2-0 Solanke and Maddison score. I like it. Again, if you go in there with a 2-goal buffer, that's massive. 2-0, 3-1, 4-2, 5-3, 6-4. Do not care how you get the 2. If you can get more, marvellous. If you can get at least 2, you know what I mean? That's what I'm here for. Daniel's gone 3-1. He's gone Maddison, Slanky, Kulu. Okay. So we've got the same score line. We've got Madison both on our score box, but he's gone Slanky and Coolers. He's gone the other two up front. I've gone Tell. So I've got the odd one out, and old Pedro at right back. To be fair, I don't hate the idea that Slanky scores. I don't hate the idea that Slanky scores. I could see it. But Pedro has to get me an assist tonight, I think. Boris reckons 4-1. He's gone Bergwall, Solanke getting a brace, and Tell getting one. Oh, yeah, like that. Like that. Could do with a Bergwall goal. You know, that new contract feeling. Get a goal to celebrate it with. Oh, yeah, I could be on board with that. Graham says, I guess we should win, but that's as far as I go. It doesn't do. If you're new here, you're welcome, by the way. You're welcome to join us. And you haven't kicked around on videos much or anything like that, Graham doesn't like doing predictions. He's too scared about it. He just likes to say, "Hey, let's just hope we can win." I don't think we're able to break through us with semi-suspension in the first leg. Yeah, Berg missing is massive for them for sure. We have to be expecting a score or two or more. Okay. Callum Roach, how are you, my friends? How's the week treating you, my friends? He reckons 3-1. Looks like I caught the end of the show. We've still got to talk about Eze. We've still got to talk about Eze quickly. Don't worry. Yannick, how are you, my friends? We win two or three goals. Cruz starting a goal. Solanke's continues his form. Hey, you've gone for Pedro, Madison, Slanky, but maybe a Romero goal. Ooh. Interesting. I'd like to see more than 2 goals going to semi-final, but at the same time, I think we'd be complacent. Big D reckons 3-0. Romero, Matters, and Odebear. Yannick's pumped for the game. Absolutely coys. I think a goal of 1 or a draw wouldn't be bad. Coming from a draw, you know what I mean? We drew in the first against Frankfurt. You know? I think Porridge due. Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I agree. My dad's from Bilbao and a big Spurs fan, so am I. Would love to see Spurs Bilbao final, Spurs win. Would love watching it with my dad. That would be awesome if you could watch it with your dad, mate. That really would be. And as long as Spurs win, that's what matters for me in that regard. But yeah, absolutely. How cool would that be? Well, you know, we'll keep an eye on it. Well, that's the thing as well. You know, I don't really want to keep an eye on the other game in terms of the scoreline and things like that. But you know, I probably will keep an eye on it. Just to the side of me, like, oh yeah, it's still 0-0. I don't think that game's going to be high scoring, by the way, the United game. Yeah, I don't think it will be. Right, let's talk Eberechi. Now, again, if you're new, when we talk transfers, we don't know who the manager is next season. And because of that, we can't sit here and say this is definitively going to happen. It has been reported. We will report on the report and we'll react to it. On paper, when we talk about transfers, it's all very superficial, but we know until we know who the manager is next season, be it Ange or someone differently, it's really, really irrelevant because, hey, the next manager and his system, Eze may not fit it. But let's talk about it. Eberechi Eze, the Crystal Palace star man. It comes from TBR Football saying that Eberechi Eze is ready to leave Crystal Palace this summer. Graham Bailey has now provided an update on the Eze situation heading into the transfer window. Eze feels on his part it's the right time to leave Palace this summer, something he's communicated to the club. He mentioned that much will depend on Palace's demands around his release clause. Very few are needed to be paid in one lump sum, and I don't believe Palace will do that to Eze either. Tottenham love the player, we know that, but they're not alone. Manchester City like him a lot. City are looking at bolstering their attacking midfield ranks, but Florian Wirtz is ahead of him in that regard. He mentions Paqueta, Teketelaere, and Trincao. Paqueta might be getting banned still. Teketelaere hasn't had a great season at Atalanta, if I'm honest. Recently, he's not been great. Newcastle and Villa also admire him. I still think he'd come to us over them, if I'm honest. It'll be a team playing in Europe. That's a very fair thing to say. If we're in Europe, by the way, he'll come to us over them. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool are fully aware of him and the fans of his talents, but I don't believe he is a priority for them as it stands. He goes on to talk about Mark Guay, but I'm not really going to talk about that today because we talked about it recently. Eze, obviously, you know me. I love Eze. Hansi will probably comment on this and talk about how just go get him. He's always been one of those that says, Eze's him. I love Eze. I love Eze. I think he's a phenomenal player. You've seen it recently in really massive games, like especially the FA Cup run. He has been crucial to their success. I don't think that obviously we know the buy option is 60 plus 8. I don't think it's going to be 60 plus 8 in terms of they want it all up front. I think they'll work with the team, because Eze kicked about for another season, especially because they smoothed off Elise. Palace could have an interesting summer this summer. Hell, they could still win the FA Cup and get European football themselves. Will Guehi be there? Will Eze be there? They may be cashing in on both. If they do, let's see. But that release clause of about 68 million is a lot of money. How Palace will come to the table and maybe stretch it out is obviously a question mark. Again, we don't know the new manager is on our front, or if we have a new manager, obviously we don't know. Until the season ends, we do not truly know. In the Ange system, it will work. He would be great in Ange's system, be it in the midfield, even at left wing. But will Spurs do a £68 million release clause? That's what I'm struggling with. Do I think he's worth 68 million? He's worth it. He's worth whatever team wants to pay it. Palace value him at 68 million. It's on another team to value him there as well. He's got 20 goal contributions, I think, this season. Which if I talk about Son having it, I talk about Kulu having it, and I rave, especially rave about Kulu. You got to rave about Eze, and yeah. We won't. I mean, that was the issue last summer. It was too expensive for us. We didn't want to spend that lump sum up front to get him. Palace are going to have to come to the table, and will they? There's a question mark. You just don't know. It depends how much they want up front. Either go and get him or Gray. Yeah, Gray's an interesting one as well. Obviously, last year his contract, will he still be there or not? It feels like it's the summer that he will move on. I mean, look at it this way. Atletico want to pay 40 million for Romero. I think Mark Guehi is going to cost that to 40 to 50, in my opinion, with 1 year left on his deal. That's why I'm saying Romero's worth way more because he's got 2 years left on his contract. Is the Guehi the replacement for Romero? I don't truly know. Is he an addition to the centre back room? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one as well. But Eze is a proper player, proper player. What it does for Tell, I don't know as well. Obviously, Tell's buy option. I don't think anyone saying that we shouldn't be signing Tell or should sign Tell. I always just say, give it to the end of the season. He needed probably at least 2 or 3 months just to get settled. That was the start of February. So February, March, April. He's had now 3 months. So you might as well just give Tell to the end of the season. And then let's, like with everything, I've always been really fair about with players leaving or coming in, a manager leaving or coming in, review it then. People that are like, get Ange out of my club, get Ange out of my club. I'm just like, he's obviously not going to be leaving. Everyone knew he wasn't going to be leaving. They said he was getting the Europa League campaign. Just ride the wave. Support the club. You don't have to like Ange. You can still want him to go. You don't have to like any of the players. You can still want all of them to go. Just support the club. Ride the wave and just see where it takes us. Buzzing. Rat Cowie, big man. Buzzing. Look, less than 7 hours now to kick off. All right. We've been live for 40 minutes. So less than 7 hours to kick off now. I am buzzing. I am absolutely buzzing for this game. We will go live after the game. Win, lose, or draw. We will go live. We will talk about it. We'll come together. We'll either cry together or we will be absolutely flying together. All right. We will be here. It'll be quite quickly after the game as well. So look, load up YouTube 5-10 minutes after the game. We will be here live to talk about it. Look after yourselves today. Get out in that sun. You can see it on my arm. It's quite sunny. Get out there and I'll speak to you all soon to talk more about Spurs. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Peace.